Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel, the main event here. As you can see from the title and thumbnail, we're going to be talking about Charizard today. Just as a disclaimer, this is not a video to try to convince you that Charizard is like the best Pokemon or the best fire type in the format, or it's like going to dominate the format or anything like that. It's more so a video that like if you enjoy Charizard and you want to use it, there are some roles that it can fill and some things that it can do compared to the other fire types. So before we get started, question of the day: who are some other these sleepers in your opinion? Because like Charizard would be more of a sleeper pick. It's not like a meta pick, right? So let's get started with Charizard. So first things first, it has the fire flying typing. And I think in a format where ground attacks are going to be so prevalent, I think that's a plus for it because it already takes away one of its most prevalent weaknesses, which is the ground typing. It doesn't get hit by ground type moves at all. So that's one of the big advantages it's going to have over like most fire types like all the time, where it's not going to require Terra. That's one of its biggest advantages. I don't think Charizard is necessarily going to be like a Terra hog. And I'll get into some like reasons why. One, the flying typing already protects you from the ground type moves. Yes, you're 4 times weak to rock, but realistically, the only prevalent rock type right now is Cleavor, and it uses primarily a single target rock move that can miss. And Charizard outspeeds it, and Charizard probably hits it for neutral really hard. So it's not like it's like just wiping Charizard off the map completely, right? So I think that having the 4 times weakness to rock is not the end of the world. And realistically, you could Terra into flying, keep your fire stab, get extra flying stab on like Terra Blast or something, still be immune to ground, and then only have a 2 times weakness to rock, and you might be able to survive some hits that way. So while you're not going to be a Terra hog, Terra is an option for you. Compared to like Chi-Yu and Heatran. Heatran mostly, because these are the 2 other premier fire types in my opinion. There's like other fire types like Arcanine and stuff, but I don't think those fill the same roles as offensive fire types like these, so that they don't really matter here. While Chi-Yu doesn't really boggle down your Terra often, it has more, right, with Terra Grass and Terra Water. And Heatran is a big Terra hog because it needs to get rid of this 4 times weakness to ground, because that's actually destructive right now. So Terra Grass is like all the time. But like mostly Chi-Yu does it for like offensive coverage and defensive stability, because it doesn't have a lot of great coverage, and that's Charizard's next thing, right? Charizard has pretty good coverage, so it gets overheat and blast burn. Chi-Yu gets overheat as its strongest fire stab. I don't believe it. Yeah, only Charizard gets blast burn. Heatran, its best fire stab. Go up. It's also going to be overheat, which is like a great option to have, right? They all get overheat, they all get heat wave, so they all have that going for them. But Charizard also gets like blast burn, right? Which is the same accuracy as overheat. And you do have the drawback of not being able to move for a turn, but I think the extra base power is actually sometimes worth it. A lot of people do run that. And you also keep your special attack stat, right? You don't actually drop by 2, so you can kind of spam your other fire type moves as well. So I think that's like an interesting niche for Charizard in itself. Additionally, Charizard gets like coverage without Terra, so it gets like Solar Beam to hit water types, right? Heatran also gets Solar Beam, I believe, which is good for it, but it's a bit slower than Charizard. Chi-Yu doesn't get any grass coverage outside of Terra Blast, making it like a bit more of a Terra hog. So I think that Charizard just gets a great coverage like overall. Like if you get the like it's flying stab, it gets hurricane, so you can actually run it on like rain teams. Funny enough, it gets air slash, gets a couple other flying type moves. If you go just into the special side overall, it gets like ancient power, so you can hit like opposing fire types, which is actually pretty interesting. It gets like ancient power, it gets dragon pulse, it gets other fire type, it gets focus blast. That's the one I was thinking about the most. Like focus blast obviously sucks because it misses all the time, but you have the option for it, right? And you can hit like rock types with it, versus like I think Heatran uses earth power to hit rock types, and Chi-Yu just has to hit them for neutral with like dark pulse. So like that's one of the big differences between these Pokemon. Obviously you're gonna most likely just run their stabs like fire, flying, fire, dark, fire, and maybe earth power on this, and like steel or something like that. So let's look at the stats. Actually, let's look at the abilities. Actually, let's go through the abilities. I'm gonna do that first. So Charizard gets solar power, so you get a choice specs boost in Sun, and that doesn't even count like the choice specs additional boost you get from the Sun, which is a great ability in my opinion. It gives you a really big damage buffer. Chi-Yu also buffs herself without the Sun, but it's not as big of a damage buffer, and also it also affects your teammates, right? It lowers your teammate's special defense. Charizard is only hurting itself with its HP drain. It's only hurting itself. Where like Chi-Yu's ability can hurt your teammates. Heatran just has one of the best abilities ever, and Flash Fire. So Heatran's still gonna be a little bit like better. But Charizard's solo power ability is probably, depending on your team's composition and the role, might be better for you than Chi-Yu in some cases, because again, Chi-Yu also lowers the special defense on your team. So maybe you're doing defensive calcs and Chi-Yu is throwing those off, whereas where Charizard, you're not really worried about that. You're trying to do as much damage as quickly as possible. Speaking of quickness, Charizard does have the same speed stat as Chi-Yu. And they're both much faster than like Heatran. So like if you want to try to get damage off quickly, I think base 100 is going to be an important speed stat right now, because a lot of things are right under there, or they're right over there but trying to like creep it. So like you can like use Tailwind and Choice Scarf to kind of mitigate that a little bit. But I think 100 is like a really important speed stat to hit right now. The rest of Charizard stats, 109 special attack. Obviously Chi-Yu and Heatran have much higher special attack stats, but they like, again, they also don't get like solar power. So Charizard kind of makes up for that a little bit less, that little bit lower special attack stat because of the solar power ability. Yes, it does kind of force you to run Sun, but I don't think you'd run Charizard outside of Sun anyway for the most part, unless you do like other stuff for Charizard, right? Because Charizard also gets like stuff like Dragon Dance, to increase its attack and speed. It also gets like Nasty Plot, right? Oh, it doesn't get Nasty Plot. What does it get? It gets Swords Dance. Oh, so it gets like, yeah, so it gets Swords Dance or Dragon Dance. So like you could run physical Charizard sets. Again, like this is not something I would necessarily recommend doing, but like getting your attack at +1 and getting your speed at +1 might be something you could do. Not something that, like I said, most people would do, but again, this is more so if you like Charizard and you kind of want to find ways to run it, it's options, right? And I think that's the one niche that it has, like one of the few niches it'll have over Heatran and Chi-Yu, is that it has options, right? These things are more straightforward in what they're going to run. Charizard does have the option to go physical with Swords Dance and Dragon Dance to buffer that attack stat. So I'm going to go into some calculations I was doing. So this is Chi-Yu versus like Cresselia, for example, right? Can you guys see that? Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you. Pause. So this is I'm on the Nerd of Now GitHub damage calculator because it's like probably the best one. So this is a Chi-Yu blank set, right? Blank set, just timid 252 Chi-Yu, no boosting item, overheat only, right? Overheat, Beast of Ruin. Oh, actually I do have Sun Up too, right? I have Sun Up, but typically Chi-Yu is not on Sun teams, and I'm going to show you both calcs. So with no Sun, it does 48 to 58% to this Cresselia set that was on the site. So it's a 76 special defense, calm nature, max HP. It does 48 to 58 with no Sun. With Sun, it gets up to 87%, which is really great damage, actually, right? It's really, really good. If you look at like Charizard, now Charizard gets similar damage, right? With overheat, 70 to 83 in Sun with the solar power boost. Then if like you change it to something like Blast Burn, where's that? There we go. So like Blast Burn will give you more damage than that, and it's like, obviously it's not gonna OHKO the Cresselia. Most things are not, but doing 96% to a Cresselia pretty much guarantees you're gonna be able to take it out that turn. Pretty much guarantees that you're gonna be able to take it out, because anything else that you have in the field will be able to do 4% to Cresselia. Even the 83%, anything else you have probably can do 17% to a Cresselia, and you probably can take it out in one turn that way. And again, Chi-Yu does the same thing with Sun, but remember, Chi-Yu's not always on Sun teams, where Charizard is always likely on Sun teams. But even then, you put the Sun up, Charizard's Blast Burn does more than Chi-Yu's Overheat, so that's something to consider. What else am I looking at now? Oh yeah, the Flutter Mane calcs. So the Flutter Mane calcs are not offensive calcs, but rather defensive calcs. So this Charizard has no bulk at all on it. Has no bulk, 0 bulk. This is Flutter Mane. It is 252 modest. Yeah, modest choice specs. So it's the strongest Flutter Mane can be without like Terra. Yeah, because I can click Terra and do more damage. So I'll show you both. So now Shadow Ball obviously is going to do a ton of damage. 12.5% chance to OHKO though, so it's not guaranteed to hit. It's actually a heavy roll in your favor, and this is like with no bulk, right? You might run some bulk on your Charizard, like say you just put like 100 HP. So now you throw 100 HP in there, or like even 108 HP, right? So that's more common. So now Chi-Yu, outside of like Power Gem Chi-Yus or Thunderbolt Specs ones, are not going to be able to like to KO your Charizard in one shot. Even if you throw up like, now if you throw up the Terra, oh no, this is not in Sun or anything, but if you Terra into Fairy, even Moonblast with Choice Specs Terra Fairy only gets up to about 74%. If you turn it off, it gets to 55%, right? With the HP that I have in here. And then with no HP, it does 60% max to your Charizard with like Moonblast, right? That's one of the advantages of the typing. Like Chi-Yu on the other hand, this is not Terrid, right? Yeah, this is not Terrid. It's not Sun. It's just the regular stuff. It's a 43% chance to OHKO your Chi-Yu with no bulk. And if I give it the same 108 HP I gave the Charizard, it does 96%. So you would have to run bulk and Chi-Yu to survive like a Specs Moonblast, because the dark typing makes you neutral to Moonblast, and not resist it. It's one of the disadvantages I'd say of Chi-Yu versus like something like Charizard, is that you get that resist, right? So this is something to definitely like consider. And like if you like Terra the Chi-Yu, and even if you add the same 108, it's still OHKO, so it doesn't actually matter in that sense, because of the typing. It holds it back a little bit. So I know you're probably thinking like the flying typing is weak to electricity, which it is. So I did some Iron Hand stuff, and these are just like the sets that I found in the calculator, right? Nothing that I put together myself, so I just put them in. So I have a Charizard set here. This is a 252 Timid Charizard, Overheat in Sun versus a Assault Vest Iron Hands with 84 Special Defense Adamant. They probably will run more Special Defense, but I don't think that matters that much because it's still like a 2-shot kind of thing. There's no boosting item in the Charizard. It's just solo power. So there's no life orb boost or anything like that. Overheat does 74 to 87, which is actually really good into an Assault Vest set. It's like incredible. Close Combat is only it was a guaranteed 2-way KO after solo power damage, but like 47 to 55 on Close Combat. Now Wild Charge obviously is going to send your Charizard out of here, right? But here's the thing with that. If you're doing 87%, 74 to 87% to an Iron Hand, and then it Wild Charges you back, essentially same thing as like the Flutter Mane, because actually I had some offensive cards with Flutter Mane as well, but I didn't post them. I want to show the defensive stuff. If they're Wild Charging you after you hit them with like Overheat, your Charizard is going to faint, but they're also going to faint, right? So essentially you're trading your Charizard for their Iron Hands, and Iron Hands being a better Pokemon than Charizard, I think is a trade that most people will be willing to like make, because a lot of the time Iron Hands is like their big bulk, their big offense, versus like Charizard is probably one mode of your team. So I think that is a trade most people are willing to make. And then like if I actually go ahead and add Blast Burn, so Blast Burn actually has a 6.3% chance to OHKO if you're timid. If you start adding stuff like Life Orb, I'm sure it goes up substantially. And if I do Chi-Yu, Chi-Yu does 60% max with Overheat. In Sun, it does 90%, so it's still not OHKOing, just like the Charizard. And those small damage things are insignificant. The difference here, though, is that Close Combat like destroys Chi-Yu. Even if I change Close Combat to something like Drain Punch, right? It still destroys Chi-Yu. Even if I were to like add 108 HP, it still destroys Chi-Yu. And if I don't, like Wild Charge still does like 96% to it. So it has like a losing, kind of like an always losing matchup into something like Iron Hands, where Charizard has ways to at least make it an even matchup. And again, like I said, it's not to say that Chi-Yu's like Charizard's better than Chi-Yu by any chance. I'm just saying it has advantages over Chi-Yu, small niche advantages where you can make it work in certain roles. I just want to repeat that. Small niche advantages that it can work in certain roles. Because like even if you look at the bulk, the Chi-Yu's like bulkier overall. It has 80 defense versus Charizard's 78, 120 special defense versus Charizard's 85. Charizard does have a little bit more HP, so like its base HP at level 50 is 153. And then 130 with Chi-Yu, and if you add like 108 or something like that, it's like 167. So even with HP investments, there's like HP in Charizard, and then Charizard's defensive typing, versus some of the common threats that threaten Chi-Yu, Charizard has an advantage. It's like Fairy, fighting. Charizard doesn't go down to those hits, while Chi will still go down to like electric hits that'll hit Charizard. Um, Charizard's not weak to like the ground type moves like Heatran and Chi you are. Heatran's also weak to fighting where Charizard is not. So like I said, small niche role. So if your team is like looking for a fire type, but it's like really fighting weak, and it's like, okay, maybe I can try Charizard. Now obviously there's Water Urshifu now as well. But Water Urshifu kind of just destroys all three of them, right? So it's not really that. It's not really saying like, oh, use Chi-Yu and Heatran for Water Urshifu. That doesn't really matter. It's gonna destroy all of them unless you Terra or something like that. So that's not really the point here. However, you know what? Since we're here though, let's actually try something. Oh no. Open it up. Actually try something. Charizard, blank set. Get the Terra to flying. Go Urshifu. Urshifu water. Mystic water set. Surging strikes do 192 to 227. So that's actually insane damage. If we Terra flying, it's you know what? There's still a big chance to KO, but it's not guaranteed. And again, this is like a Charizard no bulk, and like I said, you're probably running it on Sun. So like if you this is like just me being foolish at the end of the video because we're about to be done here. If you go with like a Charizard with just a Terra flying, right? Just something that's neutral to water, and you got Sun up, because you probably do if you're running Charizard, you know, you can survive a Surging Strikes. I'm just saying. Obviously it's the same for the other ones, but I just figured, you know, let's give it a chance to survive. Anyway, don't forget that question of the day. Who are some other regulation D sleeper picks in your opinion? Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're new, you know, click like for your boy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any uploads, and I see you guys in the next video. Peace.